Hello friends, James Stevenson here with a fresh video on the topic of how much is Tesla going to grow their sales by over the next 5 years, and are all automakers going to be growing their sales by about as much over the next several years? Let's find out what research published by B of A Global Research said about that earlier this week. I'll check in with my co-host Loki, who still has not eaten his breakfast today. He will when he's hungry. If he does that during this video, I'll move the camera and you'll be able to keep up with what he's up to in the Loki cam down here. But for now, let's check out what's on my screen here. B of A Global Research, as I previously mentioned, published this table of global sales forecasts for original equipment manufacturers. Man, does this research note love its abbreviations. It's a bad sign when you need a glossary on the cover sheet of your research paper that you're using too many acronyms and too much jargon. One of them was that TSLA stands for Tesla. Alright guys, you could just spell the word out and then you wouldn't need to include that on your glossary. Wow. So here in the headline, they call this information or these forecasts coming from S&P, Standard & Poor's Global. They actually merged a couple of years ago with IHS Markit. IHS stands for Information Handling Services, a British company founded in 1959. I just looked up on Wikipedia. Those companies both merged, so in the title they call them S&P, and then in the body they call them IHS. Same company, same forecasts. So what's this table doing? It's showing what the latest forecasts are for how many light vehicles will be sold by each of these original equipment manufacturers, and the percentage is helpfully provided here for how much year-over-year growth is expected. So what about VW as an example? Well, back in 2020, they were selling almost 8.8 million vehicles globally. Worldwide sales from VW, almost 9 million back in 2020. That came down 6.5% in 2021 to 8.2, and then down another 6.5% to 7.7 million in 2022. Before rebounding some in 2023, still less than 8 million, but up 3%. So what's the expectation from S&P/IHS Markit for the future? Well, if they hit this estimate for 2023 by the end of this year, then up another 2 percentage points next year, 4% the year after that, down 2%, up 1%, down 1.5%. Okay, so ending up in 2028, 5 years from now, at 8.2 million vehicles, still not as many as they sold in the COVID-restricted year of 2020. So not a great outlook here for VW. They are not expected to grow like Tesla is, which we'll get to in a minute. What about Mercedes-Benz? Well, they've been at just over 2 million vehicles sold globally every year for the past 4 years. Single-digit growth is expected for them every year except 2028, when a 2% paring back is expected from a high of 2,475,000 in 2027. Okay, S&P, IHS Markit. What about the BMW Group? Well, they also sell just over 2 million vehicles per year, or have for the past 4 years pretty steadily. They're expected to grow somewhat from there, so we've got low single-digit growth and then low single-digit declines here, ending up at 2.7, so some growth versus where they're expected to finish this year. How about Stellantis, the maker of Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, etc.? A bunch of other brands they only sell in Europe that I'm a lot less familiar with. About 6.5 million vehicles sold this year, growing to maybe something closer to 7 million by 2028 is the expectation here. Then the Renault Group, selling about 2 million vehicles per year. That's expected to grow to 2.5. Volvo, selling about 600,000 cars per year, expected to grow to 700,000. Okay, so total EU car makers are in gray here. That's a subtotal of the 5 or 6 companies shown above, expected to grow from about 22 million this year to about 23 million. Man, it's weird that it happens that way, because it seems like on every line you're getting more growth than that. But yeah, really only 1 million units, 1.5 million units worth of growth expected over the next 5 years for all European car makers combined. Let's hop the pond from Europe to the US and talk about Ford. They're expected to make 3.8 million vehicles. That's less than they made in 2020 by about 500,000. They're expected to continue to decline with negative 4.8% in 2026, negative 2% in 2027, and negative 1% in 2028. Now, this number is at risk. The 2023 number here, they may not get 3.8 million vehicles sold this year if the UAW strike happens. Same for GM here below them, expected to grow to 4.6 million almost after not achieving that number in either of the previous 2 years due to chip shortage excuses, I'm going to call them, from GM. So they'll be happy if they can sell 4.5, 4.6 million units this year, I think, if that UAW strike doesn't happen and they're able to reach an agreement on wages and benefits for the United Auto Workers Union. Then for future years, GM is likewise expected to decline some over the next 5 years, finishing at 4.4 million, really the same as they sold in 2021. And then, yeah, Ford even a little worse than that by comparison. How about Tesla? Well, we know Tesla sold 500,000 in 2020, almost 1 million in 2021, 1.3 million last year. S&P IHS Markit expects 1.9 million worth of sales from Tesla this year. I think guidance from Tesla is only 1.8, so they're expecting a little better than that. Then in 2024, 26% growth. Find me another double-digit growth number anywhere on this page. Is anybody else expected to grow double digits in any given year? I don't see a positive double-digit number on any other row besides the Tesla row here. What about in 2025? Another year growing by more than 20%. In 2026, growing by more than 20% again. In 2027, growing by almost 20%, 18%-ish. And then 12% in 2028 would get Tesla up from 1.9 million this year to 4.9 million, almost 3 million units worth of growth for Tesla from this year to 5 years from now. Nothing similar is expected of any other automaker. So an independent third party, S&P Global / IHS Markit, is telling you Tesla is going to grow their sales by far more in terms of raw nominal amounts, as well as percentage growth, more than doubling over the next 5 years is what they expect. What about for Toyota? 9.5 million this year, 9.7 million by 2028, so flat for Toyota. How about Honda? They've had a few tough years. They used to sell about 4.5 million units globally. They're expected to only get back to about 4.2 million from where they are today if they can stop the slide that's been pretty significant over the past several years. Nissan used to sell 4.5 million units a year. They're down to 4 million now. That's expected to stay, low 4 million range. Hyundai is expected to grow back to the same levels we saw them at in 2021, or maybe slightly higher. So there you go. There's your update. I'm not even going to bother showing you these percentages down here. You can pause it and look at them if you want. They're kind of meaningless. The amounts up here are really what matters. These are just telling you how much it's changed by since their last estimate last month. So who cares? And that's my video for today. So we'll check back in with Loki, who is in his dog bed, still curled up and sleeping and ignoring his breakfast. Maybe he'll eat at some point. With that, I will outro and say if you've enjoyed today's video, click the like button. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, why not go ahead and subscribe to my channel? You can do that if you're watching this video on YouTube by clicking a button over here. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon or on X for 69 cents per week, which is my recommended way to support me, or by joining my YouTube channel as my executive producers Kathy Kitchler and Rebellionaire.com did. And I'll see you in the next one.